love doing this stuff on a wire wheel because it makes it like new. This is all real copper. So just that cleaning right there is all it needs. Alright, today we're going to do something a little bit different. It's kind of a niche item, a little piece of knowledge, something that might help somebody out there, especially in a pinch, and it has to do with solenoids. I had a video a little while ago that dealt with my Westerbeke generator being hard to start, which ended up being the glow plug solenoid, which was this exact solenoid right here. And it had very high resistance through the contacts. The solenoid would operate, the coil would energize, pulling the plunger that should have made the contacts internal, but the readings from the meter through the contacts were in the mega ohm range, meaning it was extremely high resistance. So if you were to try to put 12 volts through it, you know, you would barely probably get any voltage through it all, and certainly not any current, because it was just essentially not making contact. So in that video I said you could probably rebuild this. So I didn't throw this away, because this is an actual Westerbeke solenoid, and you know, Westerbeke parts are pretty expensive. I think this one was around $80 or $90. I actually got a cheaper one because Westerbeke doesn't make these anymore. So I got the Westerbeke cross-referenced solenoid, and it does work, it does fit, it does the job, it is working. But it was clear that this one was heavy duty, well made, and I thought that maybe I wanted to hang on to it to rebuild it. So I did rebuild it, and it does work perfectly, and I'll show you that right now if I can. Let me see here. So it's all hooked up. So you see these two contacts here and over there, and that is to the meter. And right now the switch, the internal contacts are open, meaning we have no continuity through it. It's fully open. So this is the power source, and we're going to simulate energizing this. So this is a ground, it's case grounded, and then this is the positive input. So I am going to find the positive input here, wherever this might be, or if I can find it. It's right here. Alright, and then I will energize this, and then we'll see what kind of ohms we get through it. And you'll see here, little spark. And I've got some long leads on this, but it's 7.1 ohms. My screen's cracked, but it is not mega ohms, it's ohms. You can see the ohm signal there. If it was mega ohms, it would have an M there. If it was kilo ohms, it would have a K. So kilo ohms is not good either. Mega ohms is even worse. Ohms is what you want. You know, this is 7 ohms, so that means there's very little resistance through these larger contacts from there to over here. And that internal switch is closed by providing power to this and then the ground, and then it will close that internal contact. So it's reading 6.6 ohms. So I could put this back in and it would work just perfectly. And rebuilding this or cleaning it was actually very, very simple. I've done it before in a pinch, but I'm gonna show you how to do this. So I have another setup right here. It's exactly the same as what is on my Westerbeke, which is the glow plug solenoid. That is the fuel pump, and this is the fuel filter, and that is the breaker. So this setup right here is on several different Westerbekes, and they just mount it, Westerbeke generators or engines, and they just mount it on there, and it's all self-contained. So in this case, we'll test this one. I'll show you what's wrong with it, and what's wrong with this is exactly what was wrong with this one, which is the contact closes fine, the internal coil pulls the piston just fine, but this one actually has it reads fully open. I did read it once where it had mega ohms, but right now it reads fully open. We'll see when I test it. I'll show you when I test it. And then I will dismount this from the bracket. I'll open it up. I'll drill off the little rivets here, open up the cover. We'll take it all apart. We'll clean it on the wire wheel, and we'll put it all back together, and it should work perfectly, unless there's some internal catastrophic failure in there. But generally, you'll see when I open it up, it's just corroded contacts, or sometimes where the piston travels, it's just got so much gunk and corrosion in there that the piston can't travel fully. This one is drawing what? This solenoid draws 2.37 amps, 29 watts, and it's got 12.5 volts going to it. So we have a good solenoid here. We'll test it on that one, because if that coil is, say, not good, then it will pull either more or less current than this one. But we'll see how it behaves and see if they're both consistent. All right, let me set this one up and we'll test it. All right, still nothing. So we know the meter works. We know our clips have good contact with the two switches, and we've got it energized, but nothing. I mean, it works, but nothing happens. So we're going to take this apart now and look what's inside and see why, and then we'll fix it, clean it, put it back together, and it should work, and we should have an $80 solenoid for probably about maybe a half hour's worth of work. Alright, so the kind of tools that you might need to do this job are pretty basic. You will need a drill, and that's pretty much it. A meter. You got to have a meter. If you're on a boat and you don't have a meter, go get a meter. Doesn't even have to be a fancy meter, but you need a meter, a multimeter, something that can read voltage and ohms specifically. If you've got a generator, something that can do hertz too. You see this is hertz. That will help you determine your RPM of your generator and your correct output. But you need that, so go get a meter, and let's continue with taking this apart. Alright, so one thing, another tool, it always helps to have a crescent wrench, an adjustable wrench. But in this case I got to take this terminal off because it's in the way. Never lose the nuts and washers on anything electrical, because many times they are specific size. I mean, you can usually source them, yes, but don't lose them. Always save them. So we're just going to take this mounting bolt, which is mounted, this plate is mounted from here to there. So in this case it's 11 millimeter.
What are you doing on the other side?
Yeah, this right in the way.
On there good?
Yeah. Stuff hasn't been taken apart in years. Okay, again, don't lose your hardware. Let's cut this. Get rid of this. So here is our solenoid. I don't have a socket handy for this one, so I'm just using an adjustable. Keep all your hardware. Alright, so there's the solenoid. Looks just like the other one we took off.
Picture.
The only thing holding this together are these rivets. Just need a drill, and these are not very hard material. See how that just spun here? Now it's just spinning. So they can be a little bit of a pain like that. Alright, you can stop it.
Okay.
Alright, so the heads are drilled off, not quite as much as I would like, but I'm just using a punch. Actually, this isn't all, it should be a punch, but This is an old school awl. Just punch them out like that. I see the cover's coming off with it, so that's alright. I'll get them all off. We'll get the cover off. So this thing's actually in worse shape than I thought. It's much worse shape than this one was. The inside cover is rusted. A lot of stuff came out. I broke this trying to punch it out, but you could still make this work without too much trouble. Because when this goes back on, you know, you can put a little silicone on there, and 3 of these will hold it together. So if in a pinch, you know, you needed something to get you home, this definitely would still do it. So let me get the right socket here, and we'll finish taking the rest of this apart.
Okay.
So the first thing we got to do, this thing does move, and this thing's in much worse shape than I thought, but we got to take this off. Okay, so now that is held on from that tab that we just loosened. You see that? Right there. So these two, that's the coil wire on that side. So actually I'm going to put this one right back on. So you can see what happens here. Look at this. This thing's all corroded. It's much worse than the other one. But this spring goes on here, and then this goes down in here, and then this just goes up and down. This washer goes up and down and makes contacts with these 2 lugs, which you can see right here. So the edge of this bottom side of this washer makes contact with this lug, which is the same piece as this, and also this lug. So most of the time it's sitting up like this, and then when the solenoid is activated, it gets yanked down to make contact with that. So you have to take these out, you have to clean this, and I don't want to break this, but I don't think it's too important. Alright, let's take this apart. I don't know if I can save this one. This one's much worse. So if you just take these nuts off, so that's one side. That's the other side. Okay. Now look how corroded those contacts are. So this sits like this, and then when the solenoid is energized, it pops it down on here. So what are the odds that electricity can get through these things? Not much. And that's why I was reading basically open, because that and also I have a feeling that this one actually, this white stuff here is like all corrosion on this steel cylinder. This one probably wasn't going down all the way, because it's really sticky. So we're going to clean this on the wire wheel, we're going to clean these, and we're going to clean the underside of this. And we're going to clean these nuts right here, because these have to make good contact too, because a lot of times that's where your terminal sits. So let's go to the wire wheel, and I'll show you why a lot of these older things are worth refurbishing after I clean this. This looks terrible, but I love doing this stuff on a wire wheel because it makes it like new. This is all real copper. So just that cleaning right there is all it needs. Perfect. So be careful on a wire wheel. good as new. Alright, so obviously, huh? Alright, so obviously I have a wire wheel here on a grinder. Thing's my best friend. It works great. In the field, you could just use a wire brush. It'll take you a lot longer, but it won't take more than 10 minutes. And you can get this thing to look like new. So that's one piece. I need to do that one, the other one, the underside of this, because this is what's going to contact this piece right here where that little machine part is. That's where it goes. And all this stuff will be as good as new. So let me finish cleaning these and we'll show all of them. So that's how corroded that plunger is. It adds to the diameter of this plunger, which is supposed to slide in there, and it makes it real sticky, so that's not going to work well. Like I said, be careful with a wire wheel doing this. Done this for a long time, and even then I've had things catch and grind the fingertips off and throw the parts across the room. Feel better, right? It's also important to get the threads, because when this, yes, this is the contact for this, but when you put your terminal ring on here with the wire on it, when the nut goes down, it's the thread contact with the nut, and then the nut face pushing on the terminal end that provides a lot of the contact to go through this lug. So clean everything. So this obviously moves a lot better in and out. So let's put these lugs back in, and it's that machined face up. Let's do them one at a time. Now I forgot to do these nuts. I should do the face of these nuts, but for right now I'm just not going to do it. I'll do it later. And these lock washers. Face up. Lock washer. Lug back in place, which I actually didn't need to take that one out because that is the coil wire. And then this one goes on this little tab here. So I have the nut started on this one. Just got to make sure that that gets on there, which isn't too difficult to do. Okay, so now this thing moves. Oh shit.
What?
Forgot the spring.
Oh.
Okay. So the spring goes here. And the spring, I'm gonna have to loosen this a bit so I can get this underneath. Okay, so now everything operates freely. When this thing makes contact, you can see that washer is now contacting those two lugs, and it should operate much better. So I don't need a cover on this to test this out, so let's test it out. Okay, so everything's hooked up. I've got the meter hooked up across here. It's open as it should be. I got this grounded. Improve this ground a little bit, and then as soon as I hit this, you'll see this pop down, and hopefully we'll be able to see a reading across there. So, and then our reading is 4.5 ohms. Alright, so this actually would work even without a cover on it. The cover is just for moisture sealing and make sure dirt and stuff doesn't... so you can see that's how it works. Now the cover keeps it from overextending too. It only goes up a little bit. Alright, so this is 4.3 ohms. We're pulling 3 amps. I don't know if you can see that. That's a little more than the other one. This solenoid is much older. Well, it's about the same, 2.97. It's going down a little bit. So it's pretty comparable. But the coil was good. The contacts are now good. Now if I could just get this cover on, and again, I'm going to clean that cover, all that corrosion and stuff. You don't want it falling down in there in between the contacts. You could use screws. You could just use screws to put this in, like small screws and small nuts. And then you could put some silicone on it. This is busted. I busted it because it was so corroded, and I didn't drill these out enough because the rivets just started spinning. But I'm just going to pop rivet 3 of these on here. And maybe there's a little bit here. Maybe I can get a 4th, or if I put a washer there, I could do it. So I'm going to take this off there, and then we will close it up, test it out again. All right, we just did a quick cleanup of the cover plate for the purposes of this video. I could spend some more time cleaning it, but one other thing to note is I cleaned the faces of the nuts, these small contacts, but also this back side, because this is where it grounds from. So whatever, you know, if this is mounted to the generator plate, like that generator plate over there, you can see where it was mounted right there. You would want to clean that back plate too, just so that everything has a good contact for ground. Half the time, many problems are made by poor grounds. So anyways, here's our meter. We've got it connected here on both sides. I've got the power supply grounded right here. Got no current going through it. We're just going to hit the nice and smooth 4.2 ohms. Perfect. Pulls 3.2 amps. Good. It's going to drop a little bit. But this would work. I busted this piece off right here, trying to get the rivets out because it was so old and corroded. Everything's sticking to it because it's magnetized right now. But it doesn't matter. I can just put a little bit of silicone right here just to make it more waterproof. Really, I could put it around everything. Opens up, closes. 3.7 ohms. It's perfect. So everything's nice and shiny inside. The contacts are working good. This old beat up junky solenoid that's half broken would probably last years. Not weeks, but probably years. But it'd be good to hold as a backup part. You know, if it's an engine start solenoid, a lot of times you can just, on a diesel especially, you can just use a screwdriver to short it and get the engine running. However, some solenoids are deep under a cover, or you can't hardly reach them, and you don't want to do that every single time, especially if, say, the engine dies or you have to shut it down, then you have to restart it for you know, real quick for an emergency. You don't want to do that, so you could just you know, rebuild a solenoid in the field without too much trouble. You don't even have to do it this good. You really just have to take it apart and clean those contacts, and then secure this. You know, if you had nuts and bolts, that would work too, but pop rivets are nice to have. But this right here would probably work for quite some time. This one was in much better shape. This one was in terrible shape. This one was much better shape. I got to do a little more cleaning on this one, but these should last years, and I'll keep both of these for backup spares. This one as a real spare. This one is like an emergency spare. I'll clean up all this hardware and put it back on there, and so that's how you can rebuild a solenoid in a pinch, and make a spare or get going again when you're stranded. Okay, if you like these videos, go ahead and like and subscribe. It helps the channel. I just do this to share information of what I know, and I watch a lot of videos myself, because there's a lot of people out there, and there's a lot of smart people out there, and usually somebody out there has thought of whatever problem or has had whatever problem you have. Also, if you see anything that's different, or that you can add to it, go ahead and comment, because some of the videos, it's the comments that actually add a lot more to it. Better ways to do things, or alternate ways to do things, or mistakes that sometimes are made in the video that I don't know about, which happens routinely. Anyways, so like and subscribe and comment if you have anything else.